Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Alhamdulillah, man. Today, I want to speak on Shirk a little bit. Shirk, Ibaadah, Dua, just to explain the dangers of certain things. And I want to touch a tafsir, one ayat, to kind of bring some awareness to certain things. And, I seen where a particular Imam had made a post about traditional Islam and how they want traditional Islam to come back. And, he was saying in this day and time, I'm pretty much paraphrasing it because I don't remember it for word. It was a long post, but he was saying how today when people see traditional Islam or hear of traditional Islam, they refer to it as extreme, or he didn't put this, but things I've heard in my area, Arab religion, and like really no joke, he had in there modern time. He had like tradition or this modern time or modern era, these things that people say. So he was just referring to how things is being lost, because when they see traditional Islam, what they refer to as traditional Islam, it's automatically downplayed and pushed to the side. And he was saying how it needed to be brought back. People cloaking it under modern times and a modern era, and the deen is basically being lost. And he said he even seen where somebody posted that. Somebody even posted and said, we don't even need imams today. You know what I'm saying? We don't even need imams in this day and time. And it blew my mind, because just speaking in reality, a lot of these masjids, not saying this as a discouraging statement, a lot of these masjids don't have real imams. I'm just being honest. A lot of them is extremely unlearned as far as a classroom structure. Right now today, a lot of these masjids got people who's willing to get up and talk. And I speak on this before. Basically some people got them some little money together. They got them a building together. And whoever's willing to get up there and talk, they do it. Sometimes their knowledge doesn't precede what they heard the day before. So like, they can wait till Wednesday, Thursday night, look something up on Google, and then go talk about it in a cook bar without having a full understanding of that, not really studied into that. They have a book, like I said, it was one time we was, I was naive and I heard a good cook bar and I was like, man, dude usually don't sound that good. I'm just being honest. I was like, man, dude usually, he sounded pretty good today. Like he had some stuff, he was putting some pieces there that didn't go, but it was from the deen. So dude was like, man, let me show you something. And then we walked over. They didn't have a minbar, they had a podium. So he said they had a podium. They had a podium. He said, let me show you something. And then we walked over to the podium, and right there on the little shelf in the podium was a book of cook bars. And I looked at the cook bar, and I say 90% of it was directly from that book. The other reason why I say 90%, because it was a few little sentences and a couple of paragraphs that was missed just by the way he was reading it. So you can get a book of cook bars, Anybody who willing to get up there, do they really understand that stuff? Like, have they really studied that? Do they know if it's from Sufism, if it's from Shiism? And I know, we have these groups and people who just say, hey, it's all Islam. The Imam even put in his post like, basically this form of Islam that people want is basically the form of Christianity that we just left, basically. Just like, no disrespect, like a lot of these churches we was growing up, man, these people wasn't real ministers or deacons. And I'm just gonna be honest, especially in the Illinois area, a lot of them was old pimps and drug dealers that had a lot of dirty money, and they don't tax like church money, and they don't they can't monitor the packages that's coming back and forth through churches. These was old pimps and drug dealers that was still involved in the business, and they just had churches, and they would get up there on Sundays and sound good to the people. And then some of them, that particular church might set up a little Sunday program, a junior deacon, a junior this. But how many of them actually went to college? Like, you can go to college for ministry. How many of them actually went and did that? The mass just is becoming the same thing. Now, am I saying that we don't need imams? No. We definitely need some real educated imams. But at the same time, when you don't have it, some people going to do the best that they can. Some people going to do the best that they can, but some of them just not that sincere. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going on. Some people more caught up in what comes with being the person that gives the khutbahs. They more caught up in that than the Deen of Islam being moved forward in a manner that's productive, where it's actually going to produce fruitful members of a Muslim community. Real brotherhood, not the smoke and mirrors. So I understand. So I'm saying all that to say, I understood why the person who said he seen put in the comments that we don't need imams today, because a lot of people that is aware that a lot of these masjids were masajids is ran by people who not real imams. It's just a fact. It's unfortunate because we can see the breakdown. We can see the breakdown when you of the community. And I'm saying this to say, sit down. Anybody who you could do it online. Sit down and read hadiths. Sit down and read Sahih Bukhari. Just reading the hadiths. Sit down and try to read Sahih Bukhari. Sit down and make a goal and say, I'm going to read one volume of Sahih Bukhari per month. Right? Which is feasible. And do that for 6 months. Read one volume of Sahih Bukhari for 6 months. And by the time you start to get through that, you're gonna be looking around like, whoa. So, and I be saying how what has happened was, man, first we got detached from the Quran because we didn't understand the Arabic, and we started off with very poor translations of the English. Over the years, this has gotten better. I've been Muslim long enough to have seen some of the poor translations of the Quran. Some of the first Qurans that we was running around with, they was Ahmadiyyan translations of the Quran. People don't understand this, but the Shiites also translate Qurans. The Sufis, they also translate Qurans. And they can't change the Arabic, but they could change the wording into English to fit a Sufi narrative, a Shiite narrative. Some of the Sufi Quran, they put more mystical things in it, as such as like when Allah says he's above his throne, they'll do things like change it to power. If it says something about like Allah's face, they're going to change it to something mystical. They'll change it to like Allah's awareness or something like that. So we was rocking with the Ahmadiyyan Quran, which is kind of Sufi Shiite-ish. But anyway, it kind of detached us from the understanding that we should have of this deen and Allah Azza wa Jal. Then there was the detachment from the Sunnah, Hadiths. When you have a good understanding of the Quran, you know that Allah Azza wa Jal says, take what the messenger gives you. Right? I sent down this book and the wisdom. Right? The wisdom is within the Sunnah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam can say something in a reported authentic hadith, something as simple as, when you make salat, take your hands and put your right hand over your left. And then in the Arabic language, it's from this part of the chest to right here. So take your hands and put them, your right hand, put it on your left, and put it in this area. Authentic hadith for the Rasul. But then other people will say, well, we do this, or we do this. But you can't find one authentic hadith where the Rasul said do that. But it might be a hadith where, it might be an athar where one particular person say, well, I seen Ali, and Ali was doing this. But then another person, but then you got Ali, and this is what they use. Well, I see one person said, I seen Ali praying, and he had his hands like this. The Rasul prayed with Ali. Abu Bakr prayed with Ali. Umar prayed with Ali. Uthman prayed with Ali. Ibn Abbas prayed with Ali. Ibn Maksud them prayed with Ali. Abu Dhar prayed with Ali. And may Allah be pleased with all of them. Numerous people prayed with Ali. Why did all of them see him pray a different way? But one person say he seen Ali praying like, what was the prayer? Was it a sunnah? But then when it comes to show, it was a mistake in the language. But my point is, the Rasul can instruct us to do something in the sunnah. And we could say, due to these times, and due to us being in America and not in Muslim countries, such and such said, do it this way. We being taken away from the sunnah, man. And then us, we refer to the sunnah as Arab culture. So I can see the breakdown. So like when you read hadiths, a lot of hadiths, then when you really dig into the tafsirs, especially Ibn Kathir, and start to see how certain Quran ayats is attached to the hadiths, and the hadiths is explaining the situations and how the Rasul acted upon it, then it also gives you the opinion or what the people who was around them saying. Mujahid, Ikrimah, and this said this. Ibn Abbas and Ibn Umar, they said this. This is the hadith, and then this other Quran ayat explains it. Then you start to see what's really to it. But then you have people who sitting down saying that's other people's interpretations of the Quran, when not realizing these people were standing right there. These two individuals was the ones locked into the situation that the Rasul Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was witnessing, and by him being human and a prophet and a messenger, he had to sit and look at the situation and wait for Allah to send down to him how to deal with the situation. You see what I'm saying? So when Allah sent it down, boom, then these ayats in the Quran was revealed. And this is authentically documented, not no 400 years later. It was documented then. You see what I'm saying? But we have all these misconceptions, man, because we try to make everything our own. You know what I'm saying? And it's harming us. It's harming us. But, you know, so I want to point out a couple of things, man, about Ibaadah, right? And the way things is in categories so that we can better understand. And then I'm going to touch a Quran ayat. So, and I went ahead and wrote these down so that I can not necessarily just be saying them off the top of my head and leaving out certain details, right? So, right, you got Ibaadah Kawniyya, right? Which, this right here is a type of Ibaadah to Allah that's general and it's regular Ibaadah, but it's the type of Ibaadah that aids in you getting stronger and performing other acts of Ibaadah. So non-Muslims also fall into this. Jinns fall into this. Animals fall into this. Allah's creations fall into these forms of Ibaadah. Once you understand this category of Ibaadah, then you can understand how everything you do in your entire life can be an act of Ibaadah. So some of the things that fall in this category is like eating and sleeping. You need to eat so that you have energy, so that you have livelihood. Then you got to tie in to the Quran ayats that says, eat from the good things that I have provided for you. See, sometimes I be talking to certain Muslims and I might say something like, well, I got to see this and that, whether, you know, it's from Allah or not. Oh, well, everything is from Allah and this and that, and they have a certain perspective based off of what they want. If somebody come and give you a fifth of Hennessy and tell you to drink it, is you going to say that's from Allah? Although that stuff is created from something that came from Allah. That came from the shaitan. See, the shaitan, when it comes to this dunya, the shaitan can bless you too. I hate to use the word bless, but the shaitan can see to it that you get certain things that you may be considered a blessing. But it's harmful to your deen, it's harmful to your life. Shaitan can send a particular, like if shaitan come and break your marriage up, you got to understand where it's in the Quran al-Kareem, where Allah puts in the Quran, when you do certain type of things, a Kareem can be put with you. A devil, a shaitan, an evil jinn can be put with you. And that particular person is going to mislead you. This particular thing that's going to be a Kareem is going to mislead you. So, yes, there's things that's in the corridor of Allah, right? But there's things that come to you by the way of shaitan. Shaitan, Allah created shaitan, but is shaitan whispered from Allah? So you have to understand certain things, man. So like eating, sleeping is in these forms of Ibaadah. So if you eat right and you sleep right, you can be a better servant of Allah. You won't be lazy in your acts of worship when it comes to studying and trying to learn your deen, right? Working out, taking care of your body, training your mind, different forms of meditation, not none of these shirk things, but different types of forms of what we use in the English term as meditation that people from the Salaf did, sitting after Fajr until sunrise, sitting there quiet, calm in your mind, what we would refer to as meditating. Not no trying to realign with the ancestors, none of that weird stuff. The type of meditation that's good for the mind and for the body. These things could be forms of Ibaadah. But you can also see non-Muslims doing these things. Wearing clothing that doesn't expose your aura. These can be acts of ibadah, although non-Muslims wear clothes also. But their clothes might be, let's make a man-on-man woman society with a beautiful rainbow and flowers. No disrespect to those communities, but I'm just being real. Clothes can be used to promote certain things. Like right now, I'm seeing this new big thing on social media where these women is wearing, this one sister wearing these hats called "Make Better Female Private Part Decisions." See, sometimes your clothes can call you to things that's un-Islamic. You see what I'm saying? So, saying that these things can be forms of ibadah that's either going to be for you or they're either going to be against you. Because they formulate into deeds. And they either going to make you stronger and worshiping and trying to please Allah, or they're going to make you weaker. So then the next category, the second category, is called Ibaadah to Sharia. Now this is for Muslims only. The type of ibadah that's, when it says Sharia, that means that's legislated. That's in Islamic law. So like, that's what I be saying. I should have clarified that, not to keep touching on it, but like when I say something like this is legislated, you can find this in the Sharia, in Islamic law. So these things come as far as like praying, fasting, Hajj, certain things you're supposed to do when it comes to dealing with another Muslim, whether it be your spouse, your children, how to deal with non-Muslim family members, etc., co-workers. So these is those type of forms of ibadah that's for Muslims only. So once you learn these two categories and look at everything, you can become a better servant of Allah. But you're gonna need the Quran and the Sunnah, because the Sunnah is how the Quran was lived out. We reject it. And I've seen particular waves of Islam come through. What we wouldn't consider Islam, the dirty version, and then what we would consider Islam. So I've seen a particular movement start to become real strong. The Salafi movement, right? And I was in tune with, I'm still in tune with a lot of course, we gotta say that, but there's two sides. There's one yard with a fence. There's a Salafi on this side, and then there's the Salafis on this side. But the point is, I seen when a particular group came in, one side of the Salafis was promoting tafsirs, hadiths, aqidah. Then the other side was promoting minhaj. They was using the term minhaj, so then they was deterring people, getting people to really, maybe not intentionally, I think it was due to education, the lack of education. So they had people putting down Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Tafsirs Ibn Kathir, and picking up books written by this sheikh, but they translated it. The book by this sheikh, these different books on minhaj, on methodology, on how to do this, how you should feel about that. Excellent books, but it detached people from the books of hadiths. I watched it happen, and I have yet to see Muslims in a strong group pick up hadiths, especially with us picking up a certain particular level of the deen that promoted not fooling with hadiths, period. African Americans, a lot of us came through movements that they really downplay the Sunnah. It's done got better over the years. So now you got people who don't know how to practice in Islam in accordance with hadiths. Yeah, there's fiqh. There's fiqh of this, the man has, but if you're not familiar with hadiths, when it comes to an act of Ibaadah, how this act, the commandment for this act, and how it should be acted upon, you gotta have Quran and Hadith first to even know what the act is, and then how it should be acted upon. And if you're not familiar with that, you can end up just doing anything that everybody tells you. Like in the last sitting that we had, the last dars we had on a Saturday, and one of the brothers read a quote by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. Basically, in this quote was how people gonna end up just swaying from side to side. Your deen just gonna be like this. And before Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, it was other Imams that had similar quotes. And I was explaining to him how what that quote is tied into, where there's a hadith where it says the person who repeats everything that they hear, eventually you're going to get written down with Allah as a liar. Because if this person tell you to practice Islam this way, you're going to do it. Then this person tell you something different or tell you another thing, so you just going back and forth. You going back and forth. So like when you in a particular community, you can literally see individuals, and I'm not saying this as disrespect. They have War of Deen, they have Tabliki, they have Sufi, they have Shiite. It's just a portion of all type of stuff. But then when you put the actual Quran in front of them, and you put the actual hadiths in front of them, none of it is there. Now there's reminiscences of parts in it, but they never read it. Certain people just told them about it. So that's what I mean. So the person who run around and just repeating everything they said, you're going to eventually get written down with Allah as a liar, because you swam back and forth. And also, you could be possibly talking about some things that you're not up on, but you're trying to convince the people that you're a particular type of person. So this is the person that's doing it with their mouth. What about the person that's doing it with their actions? Your whole entire deen is based off of 90% of your deen is based off of what people just telling you to do. You walk in a masjid, do this, another person do that. Hey, this group, come over here this way, come over here, do this way. But ain't none of them ever been to school. Ain't none of them even read no books of hadiths. You know, they go to the internet to find things to prove their side of an argument without any understanding of what they're reading and where it came from, whether it's true or not. It agrees with what I want to do. It helps me win the argument. That's all that matters. They might come across 20 things that goes against them, and then they finally find that one thing that goes for them, and they accept it, but it's batil. So just bringing all that into full circle, when you got to understand things as far as the Quran and Sunnah, if you don't get deeply rooted in tafsirs and hadiths, people gonna have you doing this all day. And then you sit down and listen to people. See, one thing about me, man, I'm an individual. I've been a hadith fanatic for years. So when people come talking about, oh, the Rasul did this and woo wop the woo, you're not gonna be able to find that. And these are things that you have to be careful of, because you could be putting yourself in a position where you lying on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there's a hadith that says the people who lie on Rasulullah, especially when it comes to legislated Sharia-based issues on the day of Yom Kippur, when that day of judgment comes, they're going to be told, here, sit in your place in the hellfire. So we have to be careful. So once you understand what's Ibaadah, right, then you can start to live your life in accordance with Ibaadah. being a proper slave of Allah, worshiping Allah properly. Because these is acts of Ibaadah. Even working out and exercising. See, let's say Ramadan coming, and I want to get my body prepared to stand up all night, to be able to fast without getting tired or weak, and my energy is getting, a certain type of way. And I start to train my body and make sure I'm in optimal health. I'm sleeping right, eating right, so that I'm not getting headaches and I'm not getting weary when Ramadan comes. That could be Ibaadah. But as opposed to me going to the gym, working out, because I want my physique to attract the opposite sex. That right there is a form of Ibaadah. Yeah, you should want to look good. Not saying that you shouldn't, but some of us ain't working out for the purposes of being a better slave to Allah. We working out and doing certain things for the purposes of the dunya. We want to be attractive. You see what I'm saying? Not everybody, but I'm just speaking in general. So let's go into you got categories of shirk. You're gonna have the ulama that put it in 3 categories, and then you're gonna put some that put it in 2. So you have major shirk, right? Major shirk is the type of shirk that takes you out of the fold of Islam. Then you have your minor shirk, right? And then a hadith where the Rasul refers to hidden shirk, lesser shirk, but a hidden shirk, where he say the shirk is so conspicuous, the shirk is so hidden that it's like a black ant on a black rock in the middle of the night. But we talking about not the type of light where you have street lights or anything like that. Like anybody who from the hood, if you ever been somewhere where they done shot the street lights out to keep the area dark, you can see how dark it is. Or if you got a house and you don't have like a porch light or a back door light to come on, and you come to your door, you can see how dark it is. That form of shirk is like seeing a tiny ant on an all black shiny rock in that type of dark. That's how hidden it is. So when you look at those hadiths, there's 3 levels. Now the ulama that put it in 2, they say that 3rd category is already mixed in the 2nd. So they just keep it as 2 categories. So your major shirk has been broken down into 4 categories how you could fall into major shirk. And this is what I want to share with y'all, right? So you got 1, which is dua shirk. This is where you have to be extremely careful when you have to understand what duas is, right? One thing, I didn't write it down, but I'm going to touch on this because I'm speaking on dua. Your disbelievers fall into 2 categories. The disbelievers. Anybody that's a non-Muslim. There's a categories of disbelievers that you can mix with, you can do business with, like you can shop with them, you can have friendships with them. They under a particular type of category certain disbelievers are. Then the other category of disbelievers, they other than that. And you're not supposed to do business with them. You're not supposed to have certain associations with them. It don't mean you're supposed to just treat them harsh or attack them. You be kind and courteous. So when it comes to certain things, we know that Assalamu alaikum is a dua. Right? Assalamu alaikum is a dua. So when you say Assalamu alaikum, you're making a dua on a particular type of people. Now, if this is a kafir that's under particular categories with Allah, you're making a dua for them. And there's certain types of forms of kafirs that we can't make duas for. So We have to understand what dua is, what type of disbelievers, how we have to deal with. And although I'm saying these things have legislations in Quran and Sunnah. So it's not me just sitting around saying something to be talking. So when you got dua of shirk, a dua of shirk, some people be like, man, how can you have a dua of shirk? So once we get to breaking down everything, and let me speed it up a little bit. I don't want too much time to pass. So your dua of shirk is humbling or bowing down to a prophet, a messenger, righteous people through pious actions, right? Through pious actions, seeking help and assistance from them, or supplicating to dead people and things specific to Allah. Now, when you understand this, when it's saying dua shirk, how is humbling and bowing down to a prophet, a messenger, a righteous person, a righteous people through pious actions? Where's the dua in that? That's why you got to understand what a dua is. So what's an example of this? Going to stand 20 rakats in Taraweeh because you want some zakat money. Spending the night doing 10 days of iftikaf because you want the masjid to reward you when it's over. You understand? When there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things. Sister marry a dude who pay her bills and this and that, but she don't pray. But then when her husband coming through the door, she want to hurry up and pray, do deeds of righteous actions to fool him so that he'll keep assisting her. These things is called dua of shirk. Because you're doing things that should be done to please Allah, but you doing these actions so that you can get certain particular things from people. And then also your other du'as of shirk, if you go as far as worshiping prophets, asking the prophets for it, going through 12 imams for intercessions, which I ain't gonna give no example because I don't even want to accidentally fall into it, but you get my drift. So that's one category. So even humbling and bowing down to prophets, messengers, righteous people, your spouse, your children, your friends, your peers, through pious actions. Even if it's, that's enough with that. Halal. So then you got number 2, shirk of intentions, desires, and their purpose. Because one individual, we be having conversation, then a person be like, basically like, intentions is already pure. Like, I don't see how you could separate the two. When years ago, I remember saying to a person, this was probably like 15, no. This was probably like 11, 12 years ago. Because we went to the new masjid 10 years ago. So this is like 11, 12 years ago. You see a Muslim sister walking down the street, and you in your car. It might be raining. Let me offer the sister a ride. But in the back of your head, man, let me see what's up with this sister. Let me get her number. Let me see if she got, let me see what she got going. She look pretty good. I want to holler at her. That's what your intentions is. That's where the sincerity is, but you might cloak it under, I just want to give this sister a ride because I seen her walking. My intentions was only to give her a ride because I seen her walking. But the true intention was, the sincerity was towards seeing what was up with her. That's how they could be separated. So when you have the shirk of intentions, the desires, what you really on, what's the real purpose? It says, with the fundamental reasoning of the worship comes showing off, or it's done for worldly purposes, or seeking something from it. Right? People may not be married. Let me get up and make tahajjud. Not saying you shouldn't ask for things during tahajjud, which you should. But the main purpose of making tahajjud shouldn't be what you want from the world. It should be for Allah first. That's why when I make tahajjud, my first 2 rakats, if not the whole entire salat, all the rakats I do, the first 2 rakats is for Allah alone. I'm not asking for nothing. I'm not, seeking anything. This is solely to worship Allah alone. And then sometimes my next 2 rakats after that will be for dua for other people. Friends, as far as like Muslims who done fell off, children who done fell off, the community, certain imams and people who done dedicated their lives to learning Islam and coming back. Then my next 2 rakats be for them. Then I eventually work up to myself. In general, it don't happen like this all the time, because sometimes every rakat is just for Allah alone. So sometimes, and I've seen it, we've seen it. Some people praying 5 times a day because they're in an extremely bad situation. Like they don't have a job. They might be on the verge of being homeless. Let me get myself together, man, and start praying right and praying on time so that Allah will bless me. So when you start doing it for those reasons, you could possibly be falling into a little bit of shirk. And how that thing is going to be determined, what you turn into once you get those things that you prayed for. Did you still keep that up? Imagine praying for something so worldly that it take your deen completely away. And then you turn around and say, man, Allah punishing me for this. No, Allah answered your dua. See, a lot of people, that's one thing that we don't accept. Some of us is in the exact situation that we asked Allah for. And our purposes of doing all that asking, our purposes of doing all those acts of Ibaadah was to get the situations that we are in. But you know what? We don't thank Allah. Although it's a bad situation, we don't purify our intentions and say, you know what, Allah, I did all that Ibaadah and I cleaned myself up just for you to give me what done took me off of my deen. Let me go back to the drawing board and get this right. Thank you, Allah, for giving it to me. And that's why a lot of times you got to make that istikhara and say, if this situation is going to take me off my deen, if this is a situation that's going to lead me to the hellfire, or anything that's unpleasing to you, Allah don't give it to me. You got to know how to make istikhara, Jack. And that's real talk. A lot of us is in the exact same situations that we worshiped Allah to be in. Because we wasn't seeking Allah's face. We were seeking that money. We were seeking that job. We were seeking that status. We were seeking that spouse. We were seeking that home. We were seeking them TVs and furnitures and knickknacks. And then we crumbling under the pressure of it every day. Feeling some type of way towards Islam. You know what I'm saying? And then on the flip side, for the people who worshiping Allah for those purposes and not getting it, guess what they do? Man, I ain't getting nothing out of Islam. I might as well just go ahead and be a kafir. That way I could do anything I want to do. I ain't got to sit around and get married. I could just go out here and sleep with anybody who trying to get in. I can drink, I can smoke, I can party, I can pop pills. Anything my heart desires, I could do it. I ain't got to answer out Allah. That's what you think. That's what you think. But you got to be careful, man. So these are some of the categories, man, of shirk, of intentions, desires, and purposes. Now these is, keep in mind, these are two categories from the category of major shirk. These things lead you into major shirk, and we know the major shirk takes you out of the fold of Islam. Not saying you don't be a Muslim anymore. So then you got three, shirk of obedience, and look at how the first two, if you pay attention to them closely, you can see how they tie together in certain aspects, right? But look at three, shirk of obedience. Now keep in mind some of the conversations I had in the beginning. Shirk of obedience. It is to accept other legislations over the legislations of Allah, or take legislations along with that of Allah, and then the one who is pleased with those rulings and associations. And these particular rulings can also fall into partaking in what's halal, what's haram, what's Ibaadah, what's dhikr and sunnah, because this category refers to things that get you nearer to Allah. We know that dhikr and particular actions from the sunnah is the things that draw you closer to Allah, because you might have things that's from the sunnah when you know your five categories, whether it's wajib, mustahab, certain things that's mustahab. These type of things bring you closer to Allah. Even things that's mubah, because things that's mubah is permissible things, they neutral, but it affiliates and associates you with Islam, which is Quran and Sunnah, practiced the way the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it. For instance, something like, I don't do it, but I know people who wear turbans, because the Rasul used to wear a turban. A turban falls under mubah. It's permissible, but there's no reward and there's no punishment. But these type of actions bring you closer to Allah, because one, you're emulating something that the Rasul did. Two, you're doing it for the purpose of showing your affiliation with Islam and identifying with Allah, with Allah and His deen and His messenger. So these certain type of things is mubah, but these things bring you nearer to Allah, right? And it's a lot of little things like that, right? But in the shirk of obedience, so it's saying when you choose things other than that. So let's say, for instance, Allah, just bringing something down as simple as this. If Allah is looking at me, right, but in my neighborhood, some of the most ruthless, most despicable people that we look up to, they wear their hat, a baseball cap turned this direction, or a particular baseball cap with a P on it, or something that affiliate them with something. So when I hit the streets, people see my baseball cap, they know my affiliation. Right? Boom, but I got this baseball cap on. That don't go against Islam. This modern times. But Allah looking. But I can go out here and affiliate myself with groups from the dunya. But if I go outside and have this on, if Allah looking down on me, which one is Allah going to be more pleased with? Which one is Allah going to be more pleased with? And I'm knowing, or I might have that brim laid flat out, like what the pimps used to wear, and the hustlers, the old school hustlers with the dice games and all that. What am I associating myself with? See, one thing about our clothing, it affiliates us with certain things. If Allah Azza wa Jal, regardless of what anybody wants to say about it, so sometimes we choose in different legislations, and why I'm saying legislations, because particular individuals will come along and say, this is better because it ties you into your black culture and not that Arab culture. When we not understanding, this has nothing to do with Arab culture. If you, I'm gonna put it just like this, and just to show you how sick our hearts and minds can be. If you don't know me, never seen me in a YouTube video, and you seen me walking down your street, what you gonna say? Dude, there go a Muslim down there. Just like if I walking around with some red on in your city and it's affiliated with some bloods, you're gonna be like, yeah, them some bloods down there. If I got on blue, them some Crips down there. If I'm dressed this way, oh, they down there getting money. But if you see me in your city, anywhere, on any street, especially if you see 4-5 people with me and some sisters, you know what y'all gonna say? Man, there go some Muslims up there. Now let's take all of that off. And I'm dressed like Quavo. What y'all gonna affiliate me with? So with the angels and Allah looking down on us, is y'all now? But see, the thing is, some people, instead of sitting down, some people who dress looking like Quavo, somebody might look at me in another group and say, "Look at them niggas trying to be Arabs. They running around here dressed like Arabs, but they might be Muslim also." You sitting around affiliated with your gang hat and all that before the eyes of Allah. When you understand what Ibaadah is, and Ibaadah, like I gave the first categories, certain forms of Ibaadah that strengthens your other acts of Ibaadah, then you can understand particular things is acts of Ibaadah. Now, we're not saying what's the differences in between a person's heart. We're not judging the heart. We is going based off appearance, but I will say this. Individuals that walk around like this on a daily basis, I promise you, there's something in their heart that's different than a person walking around looking like Quavo. That's walking around with that hat, that baseball cap, like, oh, there's some differences in their heart Islamically. Because when you understand the actions of the heart starts to play out on the limbs. It starts to play out on the tongue. If I'm sitting around like this, I might get in a particular gathering and want to speak with some intelligence. But if I'm running around with a hat like this and all this and some red and some blue on, I might sit around and be like, nigga this, nigga this, because the actions that's within my heart is starting to play out on my limbs and my tongues. This one thing is going to bring you closer to Allah, and another thing is going to get you further away, because then we start to bring it in categories. Oh, what a prophet! Oh, well, Islam, falling into error. So these is things where these type of things come into shirks of obedience, because people taking legislations other than over what Allah commanded, as opposed to what they did. Jumu'ah, we don't treat the Jumu'ahs the way that we should, as with our families and stuff like that. But Mother's Day, birthdays, non-legislated in any religion, anything from Sirat al-Mustaqim, just some stuff that some kafirs came up with to capitalize off of, we'll take that over what Allah says. In a heartbeat. Because of the love that we have for the individuals that don't have no love for this deen. this this stuff, we'll do something haram for some people that we love that don't even love Allah Azza wa Jal. Oh, well, Allah is God. You can't say that they don't love God. Cool. They use the term God. Go to whatever they feel like their religion is and see if they sticking to what's legislated in that, even if it has been changed. You understand? So this is where the things, so these things is where you can put yourself into shirk, what they call shirk of obedience. You obeying legislations that didn't come from Allah Azza wa Jal, or you associate those legislations with legislations of Allah. For instance, turning an Eid into a 4th of July full-blown Kafir barbecue as a legislation. Taking an Eid and decorating your masjid like Christmas trees. Things what we've been commanded not to do. It's legislated for us not to do, to partake in these things, want to be a part of it. Having birthday parties for kids, all in the masjids and all of that. These things is shirk and obedience. So then your last category, man, shirk of love, is to take something as an equal from the created things and loving them as one should love Allah, or more than they love Allah, or attaching oneself to something through the remembrance of Allah and supplicating to them. So, when we spoke on dua, this thing right here, I'm going to show you how dangerous this shirk of love is. When we had one of our last sitting in the dars, and I said, if you ask the average person, man, who gave them life, sometimes you can see which parent they love the most. Some people going to be like my daddy. Some people going to be like my mother. Some people going to be like my parents. But then sometimes the Muslims who just want to be what I refer to as the new form of being politically correct, I just want to answer that question right, that you accepted. So they'll say, Allah gave me life. Okay. Will you do something that Allah tells you not to do to please your parents? Oh man, if I don't tell, although you saying Allah gave you life, if I don't tell my mama happy Mother's Day, I love them so much, man, I can't see them, I can't stand to see them feeling some type of way because I didn't tell them happy Mother's Day. But you don't care how it's going to make Allah feel? Not saying you can't love your parents, but you love them more than you love Allah. Oh, I can't not just get my kids something for their birthday. I love that. That'll be showing my kids that I don't love them if I don't get them something for their birthday. You love them more than you love Allah. Know what I'm saying? Oh man, I gotta get out here and rip some Muslims off and rip off the people because my Muslim wife wants some Valentine's Day chocolates. I don't want her to not feel unloved. Allah sent down Christianity, so doing Valentine's Day is also following Christianity, so I'm good. This is shirk. This is shirk and love. Y'all loving something. Individuals is falling into loving something just as much or more than they love Allah. So coming into that 1 second part where they're attaching themselves to certain things through the remembrance of Allah or a supplication to them. Let me show you how they do this. When you know what dua is, you can have somebody who passed away, a little kid, a grandparent, a parent, and they passed away, and we start saying stuff like, I know you in heaven looking down over me. Allah looks down over us. I know you in heaven protecting me. That's a supplication. Y'all making dua to dead people. And I really want to sit down and say, even those who come from Christianity and they brought this to Islam, where in that tampered with book do it say as soon as a person die, they automatically go to heaven? Because last time I checked, even in Christianity, there's a day of resurrection. there's a day of judgment. Don't all of that going to heaven or hell come after the day of judgment in anything from Sirat al-Mustaqim? So even in Christianity, where is it said as soon as a person passes away that they in heaven looking down and protecting us? That's shirk. And it's the love that you have for these people that you put over the love that you have for Allah Azza wa Jal, that you're willing to say, I don't care what Allah talking about. I love them people, man. Them my people, man. Them my kids. Them my parents. You're not going to tell me not to say, you know, and I'm saying, and I'm really speaking this part to Muslims, because I done seen Muslims, when people pass away, saying stuff like, I'm screaming all the way up to heaven. But look, you typing it on Facebook. It ain't like you really just went out and said, happy birthday to the one who died. I know you typing on Facebook, I'm screaming all the way up to heaven. Happy birthday to my loved one, and I know you watching over me and protecting me. Because of the love that you have for them. But you gonna say, I love Allah more. How you love Allah more when Allah is sitting up saying, you don't even do that for me? When do y'all ever get on Facebook and say, I'm screaming all the way to the highest levels of heaven to Allah, I love you, Allah, because I know you protecting and watching over me? Where that Facebook post at? Now, people might not want to admit it to themselves, but y'all loving things more than y'all love Allah, and this is shirk. So let me close on this to show there's two types of dua. There's dua of masala, where that's your general dua. Oh Allah, this, and this. Allah, please, this, and this. But then there's dua of Ibaadah. So let's say, for instance, there's a reward. There's barakahs that come to making tahajjud. When you make tahajjud, you're making dua that you get those rewards. You understand? Let's say there's some rewards that come with making wudu. Like when you making wudu, how the water, when you do this and your sins is being washed away. When you make wudu and you doing that with the water, the way it's washing those sins away, you're making dua for that. So just to bring it down and simplify it and say, instead of dua and ibadah, I don't want to do this, but I'm trying to simplify it. There's dua in actions. When you understand that, then you can understand there's duas that's for you and there's duas that's against you. When you understand in the Quran, just using the particular Surah Yusuf, when he said to Allah, prison is better for me than these these situations and these things that these people tested me with, prison would be better for me. So what did Allah do in Quran al-Kareem? Allah put him in prison for a long time. Why? He made dua even within his actions. And he ended up in prison for a very long time. So sometimes, man, when you understand that, and you have a misconceptions about intentions, and you don't know how to purify your intentions, sometimes, man, the reward for a thing, like they say, the one who migrates for some marriage or something as opposed to Allah and their messenger, they're going to get the reward for that, because in doing that action, what's the dua? That you hope Allah give it to you. But because it go against you, just like I said, some of us made dua through praying for these jobs. We ain't seeking Jannah. We done did all these extra, gave away all this, and did all this extra stuff because we wanted these jobs, because we wanted these marriages. And then Allah gave it to us. Now we can't find time to pray. This job so difficult, I can't even fast. I done made $455 million, but I ain't got money for Hajj because I'm too busy taking vacations. every 3-4 months, me and Bay, we do vacations. But my deen, Allah gave me all this stuff that I'd asked for. I can't, not only is the rope of Allah not even in my hand, I can't even find it. Because the dua of Ibaadah is, when you go to do those things, you're seeking what comes with it. So if you're not careful, you can put yourself on the short end of that stick by doing what? Getting what you asked for. You getting what your hands have earned. But let me get ready. I gotta get up out of here, man. I done ran long, man. I gotta get dressed, man. But alhamdulillah, man. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Any mistakes I made came from myself and the shaitan. I was supposed to touch an ayat in Surah Maryam. Ayat, I wanted to do the tafsir. In Surah Maryam, ayat number 59. Surah Maryam. Surah 19, just to show y'all something. So Surah 19, ayah number 59, where it says, then they were succeeded, then there has succeeded them a posterity who have lost their salah, right? And have followed their lust. They lost their salah and started to follow their lust. So this goes to show you, but look, they some of them was actually still praying. So then it says, so they will meet the ghain. One thing for the translation of the guy, the ghain is a level. It's like a valley in the hellfire, and that's the name of it. But when you go to the tafsirs, there's a couple of meanings for it, but both of them is bad. So look what it says. What it means by losing their prayers. It says losing their prayers is when they do not consider the prayers obligatory. Therefore they lose them, because the prayer is the pillar and foundation of the religion. It is the best of the servant deeds. Thus these people will occupy themselves with worldly desires and delights, and they will be pleased with the life of this world. They will be tranquil and at ease in the worldly appetites. Therefore these people will meet the ghain, which means loss on the day of resurrection. So it goes on to show more that by saying also what is mean by they lost their salah, by not praying on time, praying when they feel like it, not praying in accordance with the Quran and Sunnah, being extremely lackluster in their prayer all the time as opposed to occasionally. And then the worst, not praying at all. Quran al-Kareem is letting you know you can lose your salat even if you call yourself praying. You know, I wanted to expound on it a little more, but I got to get up out of here, man. I got to go to work, man. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Possibly I'll be able to get on it. A brother wanted me to speak on, he hit me up through the message and wanted me to speak on the beast that's going to emerge through the earth. So I'm putting something together to kind of talk about that. But the most important things is the times, what this world is going to be like when the beast emerges from the earth is possibly a little bit more important than the beast emerging from the earth, so that you can have some wherewithal that the world is going to get a particular way whether we like it or not. So I'm going to expound on those things as well. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.